Hey everyone, this is George here from Lucia. On today's podcast episode, we have Luiz Cent, the head of sales for Mailshake. They're an automated prospecting outreach tool. So, Luiz, welcome to our podcast. How's it going today?
George, it is going fantastic. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here with Lucia, mostly because now I'm finally pronouncing it right.
No, it's a pleasure to have you on, and I think you did get the spelling right this time. I know a lot of people call it Slusha too, so you can go both ways depending on where
Thanks.
you're from. But yeah, for the folks that don't know about us, I would love for you to give yourself an introduction, maybe talk a little bit about Mailshake, and then what brought you here to this podcast. So
Yeah, well, again, thanks for having me on, and thanks our partner marketing manager Will for setting this up. So, Will, I know you're listening. The, my path in tech has been super exciting. I studied financing in college and somehow ended up in sales after I graduated and discovered cold emailing software that changed the game because I wasn't a great cold caller. And from joining as a sales rep to starting my own company and getting recruited by tech companies to work in CS roles. Eventually I got hired as the first CS hire at Mailshake. And at that point, we didn't have a customer success team. We didn't have a sales team, and I had the opportunity to build it. And the first thing we did was analyze customers' campaigns. So we would jump into Mailshake and look at customers' campaigns and provide them feedback on how they can improve their campaigns. Eventually, after scaling and growing that team, I became the first sales hire. We threw a book a demo button on the website, and we started getting demos. And we have a really great inbound marketing engine. Our marketing team is incredible. If you Google cold email templates or something in the cold email space, sales outreach space, you'll find us. And we were getting over 100 demos. And I tell the leadership team, the founders, my calendar is booked. We know we need to start hiring sales reps. So here I am, doing research on how to hire our first sales rep. And now we have a team of 5 inbound reps, one outbound SDR, one outbound AE, and and then we have a team in revenue expansion, going after those different levers. So inbound, outbound, and revenue expansion have all stemmed from the sales side.
wow, congrats on the continuous growth. That's pretty exciting. So going from a first CS hire, you've done business development, sales, customer success, and now you're leading and you're the head of sales at the organization. Now, typically companies are starting a sales team first and then going into customer success and expansions. Can you tell me about like the reason or like how that transition has been going from CS to sales?
Yeah, it's been super fun. So and I've always been in sales where even in CS, I see opportunity for customers to expand. And then in Mailshake, it was, I worked at a company before, Experiment Engine, that got acquired by Optimizely, and CS was a very different function there. I was a second CS hire, and I was learning how to do customer success for software companies for the first time. And we were dealing with customers that had $50,000, $100,000 contracts, and they were A/B testing their websites, like the Whole Foods, Amazon, Honest Company. They were clients, and CS was a very different function. So coming to Mailshake and being the first CS hire, I knew that, where our average contract value is 1,000, 2,000 range, and we're much higher volume. There's 500 customers more coming in the door every month. Some portion touches sales, the other portion they self-serve sign up. Because rewind 4 years ago, everybody self-serve sign up. So they wouldn't have a conversation with a human. They would figure out everything from our blogs or articles, and that's great for high volume. But we needed to figure out more, like how to provide the best support to as many customers, the best success like to as many customers. And we experimented with different ideas there. So the DCS was really to try to battle a churn problem. because we had customers signing up, it wasn't for a lack of customers signing up. And then, sales was okay. Now that we have CS figured out, do if we add a sales touch, what does that do? And we found that, like studies show in SaaStr and most SaaS sales companies, you increase the value by 5x when you add a sales touch.
It's very interesting. Now, when it comes to like your conversions, like you have 500 people signing up and supporting your customers. I mean, how did you support all these customers at a very high level? I mean, where did you start? Did you have any certain like company sizes that you mostly focus your support on, or was it across everybody?
Totally. So everybody gets support, right? And some customers have been with us for years and they've never touched support, never touched sales. They self-served and have been self-servicing since, and we can even email them and offer help, and they're like, hey, we know what we're doing, we just we want to use your product, it's easy, and we got this. And we in the beginning we would try to do QBRs to different companies and say, hey, let's jump on a call and do a quarterly business review, or let's do a copywriting session, A/B testing session. And when we got more specific, more of them would take us up on it. But in terms of support, everybody gets support. There's different tiers. You can go through our live trainings that are available to some are annual only, others are for everybody. You can email support, you can and then our CS customers, they're the annual customers that are booking and scheduling and onboarding with us, and they get a customer success manager that's helping them throughout their campaigns.
Wow. Well, that's great. Congrats again on the continuous growth, and I think you guys are definitely going in the right direction. I mean, what's the plan looking like for this year, and how, or some of the ways that you're looking to go outbound and grab new business from the total addressable market?
Yeah, so I'm learning outbound, and I am deep into it. So it's interesting where we have this outbound product, and we're finally starting to get outbound to work. And I talked to you last week where we're making some progress on it, and you talked to me more about buyer groups and bringing that back to the team and sharing those ideas has been great. The first thing we did was target who's coming in inbound. Okay, we have finance companies coming in, we have real estate company, logistics, software. So let's go target them outbound, and that that hasn't really worked in the last 6 months. And now that we've experimented with that and said, okay, we don't need to tackle the ones that are coming inbound. They're coming in inbound. Let's let's go after agencies and other companies that are focusing more on deliverability and getting their message delivered and doing it in an automated way, but not reaching Google's threshold limits and getting their account banned, or not using a LinkedIn software that gets their account banned, or just spamming phone conversations with voicemail drafts. They want to do it more, they want to do it automated, but organized and systemic, where it is in constraints with the different platforms rules.
It's very interesting, and I think you've been in an email space like for over a decade, right? So
I've sent a ton of emails.
yeah, you sent a ton of emails. So I mean, have you noticed like what are some things that are constants, and what are some changes? I mean, what has really stayed the same over the last decade, and how have things evolved from the other side?
I love this question, and I it's the first time I'm being asked it in a while. I mean, email, like that stayed the same, right? Like email is here. It hasn't gone away. There's an article every year. It's like email is dead. You have this new app, this, Slack is killing email, all these different scenarios, but email remains one of the only ways to have a one-on-one conversation with your prospect, with your customer, with your friends. It's you're one-on-one in there, and it's so powerful. And for me, it's my preferred way. Like, it's one of the fastest ways to reach me. If you email me and you send a good email, that is the absolute, best way to reach me. And I live on LinkedIn. I live on Instagram, but I'm more likely to reply to an email than anything.
What's a
And
good email? I'm gonna pause your thought on that. We're gonna keep going on it, but what is a good email like? What would you consider it to be?
so a good email, it's, you're writing, it's basic copywriting. And I continue trying to learn this, and then sometimes I forget it, and then I look at my email and it's like, wow, I forgot these basics. So I know a plugin, for all you having email writing issues, we have a free tool for our customers. It's called Shakespeare, and it's an AI email writer. It'll help you out a ton. But a good email, you're writing to a person, not at a person. It's short, it's scannable, and you can read it on your phone. You're going to minimize the links in it. And if we're talking cold email, you don't want to send any links, especially in that initial email. Even if you have a fancy signature, like all those are images, all those are links, and they can decrease your deliverability, right? So, a good email, first off, it's one that gets delivered. It's in the inbox and it doesn't hit the spam folder, which, um, you're going to have to talk to our CS team, or, set up your DNS records properly, set up, DMARC, DKIM, I think I said SPF, but literally all those components in the back end, and then your copy with no links, and then your follow-up strategy. That, I would say is the first component of a good cold email.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Now, how often do links? I mean, if you put a calendar link, book a meeting, and this is my calendar, for like inbound inquiries, because I know a lot of companies probably have that in their first email that goes out from the sales development reps. But how often do emails with links associated with them go into spam?
Yeah, so every image is a link, and then, if you link that image, that's also a link. So in the beginning, when I first started doing this, I had 12 links in my email. I had one in the body, I had every single social media channel link, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Facebook. Hey, I'm a real person, look at me. And I was wondering why my emails were going to spam, and it was easy for spam filters to pick that up. And that's Google's job, Microsoft's job, Yahoo Mail's job, is to combat spam, like remove unwanted emails. And you got to keep in mind, if you're starting with a new domain, a new email address. So you hire your first sales rep, your second sales rep, and you start trying to send 1,000 emails a day. That email has never sent emails before and is sending out a ton of emails with links. Like, you just want to, maximize your chances of success. So I don't think there's anything wrong with sending a link. I don't think it's always the best strategy, and you should A/B test it if you're gonna do it. Like a lot of customers, they want to do like a strategy with a webinar and saying, hey, join my webinar. Here's a link. And I always recommend you test, hey, would you, get value from joining, this webinar on how to sell, faster with cold email? If so, let me know. I'll send you a link. Now you're getting engagement from your email, and then you can send them over that link, and they're actually more likely to sign up because,
That's
that
true.
it was a lower friction ask.
Yeah, I think I like that a lot. Now, so keep it short, keep it simple, write to a person and not at a person. And also like try to keep links out, images out. Writing to a person, not at a person. How do you know you're writing to it, at someone? What does that
Yeah,
sound?
put their name in there, right? Like, write, instead of writing to 1,000 people, put an actual like if I'm writing to George, I know you're in Massachusetts, and I've seen your podcast before, and you like plants, so I can customize a little bit more if I go to your LinkedIn profile and see more on your LinkedIn, and uh, plug that in there. But just in terms of the copy, it's, rather than saying, Mailshake does this, Mailshake does that, it's more, hey, Lusha, you're a prospecting tool. You've probably, heard of sales engagement software. We're working with, and then we would mention maybe 3 of your competitors, and that would get your attention. Say, wow, like they did, they did their research. You know, they're writing to me, not at me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it definitely makes sense, and it's all about personalization, right? And people can tell when they're in an automized cadence. I mean, you can tell right away. It sounds like a robot emailing you, and it's very self-serving. So it does tend to have a lower response rate. In terms of like modern best practices, right? In 2022, how are the best companies measuring and tracking email campaign success using Mailchimp? I know one of the ways is personalization, but like, how do you actually measure what's working or not?
A/B testing. And I've come from an A/B testing background where, at Experiment Engine and Optimizely, we tested websites, and to be able to apply that in email, it's always been a dream of mine because you can reach statistical significance so much faster when, you know, you're you're sending an email right away, versus having to wait 2 weeks for website traffic, seasonality, and all these different components where apples to apples, you're sending a campaign and you can test subject line and determine, okay, this is the better subject line. So, when we're recommending our customers to, create a email program, it's, hey, you're starting with a campaign now, it's the end of February. By the time June comes around, your campaign shouldn't look the same. Your subject line should have evolved. Your first line should have evolved. Your call to action should have evolved. Everything should be evolving continuously about that campaign. And when you think about it, it's also going to help save you from spam in the end, where if you've sent 100,000 of the same emails, it's only, and there's no publishings on this, but I would bet that Google is able to see that 100 times over. Hey, this email has gone out and out and out, in the same format, in the same way, versus you evolving and making a campaign better through A/B testing. So we're seeing our most successful customers continue to A/B test, continue to evolve. Another best practice, and not everybody can or wants to execute on it. So, unless you have a sales team, if you're a solopreneur, it's hard for you to add in cold calling to your sequence, add in LinkedIn to your sequence. So, my recommendation for best practice is to hire a sales rep, whether, if you're a solopreneur, hire that first rep to go and execute this and get meetings booked on your calendar, or, there are some outsource agencies that can help do that for you as well. I know that's not specifically email, but like if you want email to be more successful, do more than just email.
That brings up a good point, right? I think in terms of measurement, right? How are the emails? I mean, when you're A/B testing, how long are you doing it for? What's the timeline look like to get a good benchmark as to what works or not? Is it a month? Is it 2, 3? Is it a week, or is it all based on the volume that you're pushing out?
Yeah, so you can send an A/B test on a campaign, and by the end of that campaign, let's say you're sending your emails warmed up and you're sending 500 emails a day. So, within 3 days, if you have 1,500 people in that sequence, you can get a 700 or 700. If there's a significant enough increase, you'll have data on that email, and then it's further down the funnel, which you're not going to get as much significance on, which is booked meetings, ultimately revenue. But if you can increase just the top line, just the open rate, okay, now you can start optimizing for booked meetings from it. Okay, like I'm getting more eyes on this email. Let's optimize for the call to action now.
It's very interesting. That's helpful. It all makes sense too, right? I think it sounds simple, right? Where do people go wrong typically with email campaigns, and like how do they usually fail? Because like the
Yeah,
concept sound, I mean, it sounds easy, right? Like what are we usually missing out on when something isn't working?
it's funny because it sounds easy, and then you're out of the weeds for a while, and then I was growing the inbound team and hadn't done outbound, and now I'm targeting outbound, and I'm making some of the same silly mistakes that for folks that hadn't done it in a while do. So it's so good to be able to rely on our team, and I'm like, hey, customer success, like, can you check our domain health? See if we're flagged, and it's like, okay, the .co is doing well still. This is good, but all these different things that I've forgotten how to do, and I need to leverage people to help. So then, like, what you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't be spamming, you shouldn't be selling in your email. A lot of people ask me about, can spam and, how that works. I'm like, I'm not a lawyer. Don't, don't ask me how any of that works, but I can tell you it's not illegal to email somebody. And, if you're not selling something and, it's a great way to build relationships. So, we talked about it before. Don't add images. Another common mistake I see people do is they upload their list and they don't clean their list. So, we integrated list cleaner in our software to help our customers out, and we give away list cleaning credits so they can keep their domain in good health. It's a huge thing, and and this is one of the mistakes I've made as well. Like, I uploaded this list and I saw, I manually built it with my own hands, and I saw that there were like risky email addresses on there, because our list cleaner will go and look and it'll say, out of 100, 80 are good, 10 are risky, 10 are bad. And I kept the risky on there and they all bounced. And it's like, okay, I knew better than that. I could have just downloaded them, found okay ones, but they're trying to rush through the sequence. And then some people don't follow up. Some people only send one email. And
Yeah,
it's
that's a
so
problem.
surprising to me. And one of the powerful things about our tool is it'll find, you're sending from your email client, you're sending from Gmail, G Suite, Microsoft, SMTP, whatever your email client is. So we'll find that email in the sent folder and reply to it, which threads the email. So it's really as personalized and individual as it gets.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And then honestly, I've actually noticed the one email part too. It's typically people that are doing high volume, sending out hundreds of thousands of emails at once. And we speak to a lot of folks like that too that come to Lucia to buy that data. And we're asking like, hey, how is this data being leveraged? Why do you need 20 million credits for
Wow.
content? And how many emails are you sending out at the same time? And are you following up with cold calls? And what's your conversion rate? And typically the conversion rate's way under 1%.
Yeah, I can
But
imagine.
like one or two or a couple skip, actually sticking.
Are they coming back and buying another 20 million credits? Are they good customers for y'all?
To be honest with you, it's for the folks that are looking to buy in the millions, it's typically smaller companies. So they're not, if it is the bigger companies and like, it's a Fortune 500 company, they need that much data to cleanse and append. That's pretty normal and understandable. But typically we find those companies with those use cases being much smaller, 5 to 10, maybe 20 employees.
Makes sense. So there's like maybe there's some education that needs to be there as well, where it's the spray and pray used to work, but it's and there really aren't reliable software that will allow you to send 100,000 cold emails in a day. You need to really send that from an individual person and have it warmed up. And
Yeah, and I think part of it is like, education also, and also like different industries. So, previously in those types of industries, they're used to doing that kind of level of volume and outreach. So it's not happening as much in like software sales. You rarely see SaaS companies looking to push out that much volume. But I think we've had a pretty great conversation about things to do, not to do when it comes to going outbound, emailing. It was great to hear about your path and kind of like your path to success. And congrats again on your continuous growth. I guess to cap out the conversation, we can leave it with, what are some tips and advice and, you would give to someone looking to get their feet into tech or in this space?
love that question. So build something, right? You can start an Upwork profile. You can build your own website. Now, I remember when I left my first sales role in 2012, I learned everything I could about SEO and email marketing for e-commerce stores. And I started an e-commerce consulting agency, and I had my first client and I did it for free for months, and barely paying the bills, but I was like, I just want to learn this. And so go and build something. Like, don't expect anything to be handed to you. And like, if you're entering the workforce now, it is the best time to be entering the workforce. If you haven't done tech, like, start branding yourself in tech, start reading tech blogs, tagging sales tech influencers, if you want to get into sales tech, and start joining communities like Bravado, the War Room, start joining different Slack channels. And you find mentors. You don't even need to tell them that, they're your mentors. Just say, hey, you're my mentor now. And follow what they're doing. And then, like I suggest setting goals, like where you want to be in a year, and then work backwards, like how you want to get there. So
Love that.
if, yeah, if you want to, be in a 100K paying job, go to repview.com and see which jobs are paying 100K and see like what's the experience that you need to get that. And yeah, I think it's a great time. And if you have any questions, connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to help. There's also a ton of like sales tech, like incubators like Uvaro that I fully recommend, and they'll really help and mentor you and get you into tech.
Love to hear that. Thank you so much, Louise. And this has been a pleasure. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, George.